Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. In this podcast, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips, and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Hi and welcome to episode 68 of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. In this podcast, I thought I would chat about how to find the best place in London for your stay. Now, I know that is quite a kind of topical question. It's something that we are asked constantly in the Facebook group, and I often receive emails asking us basically the question, where is the best place to stay in London? Obviously, that is going to vary depending on quite a few different things that are relevant to you personally. But really, I thought in this episode, it would be a good idea to give you some easy steps to help you select the best area to stay in London for you. And also just give a kind of brief overview of the main areas that we recommend. I will say that on our websites, uktravelplanning.com and londontravelplanning.com, we have got detailed area guides and options of accommodation for each of those areas dependent on your budget. So do pop over. I will put a link in the show notes to those guides. They're very detailed. And once you've basically got an idea of which area you would like to stay in, pop over, look at the relevant guide. And you say we've got lots of different accommodation options for you to have a look at. Okay, so the thing that I will say, which is really my top tip for this, is you don't want to stay outside of London. Really, you don't. It's just too much hassle getting in and out of the city every day. If you think about this, you're paying a lot for your trip to London. And I totally get this, that the accommodation in London will probably be the most expensive part of your trip. It certainly is. It always makes me gulp a bit. I'm quite lucky in that we do have friends in London that we occasionally stay with as well. But, we also do stay in the city itself. So I guess what I want to say is consider this. It's like, do you want to spend your days traveling in and out of London on public transport? Probably not. When you've been out and about all day sightseeing, what do you want to do? I know I want to get back to my hotel, my accommodation, and just relax. I do not want to get myself on a tube, on a train, and outside of London, or have a lot of walking to do, or jump on 3 different buses or whatever. I want to get back to my accommodation. So really think about that. Also, to be honest, it will add to your experience if you're staying in London and like the central. I'm not talking about really zone 1 here. If you're staying in the central area of London. Because walking distance to lots and lots of different places depend on the area that you stay in. So, soak up the atmosphere, go to the restaurants, walk around, enjoy it. So choose an area that, obviously it will fit your budget, but in central London. That's really what I highly recommend. So what are the 4 easy steps that I recommend to help you select the best area to stay in London? So the first thing, obviously, is you need to think about your budget. Are you looking for a luxury hotel, a boutique hotel, or are you going to be more budget conscious? Obviously, I will say you need to budget more for your accommodation in London than anywhere else. Edinburgh is also pretty pricey at certain times of year, but you can find options. Whether you're looking for a luxury stay, family-friendly accommodation, or best value budget as well, there are different options. So what I would say, though, is you've got to consider as well when you are going to be arriving in London. So prices obviously going to vary due to the demand. So you're going to expect the highest rates during sort of May, June, July, late September, October, during the Christmas period. Those are when school holidays are on in the UK. So, Easter time, I should have mentioned Easter time, end of May is a school holiday, June, July, August, those are the times where lots and lots and lots of tourists are arriving in London. So if you are planning to visit, over the summer months, you're going to pay higher prices. And also school holidays are on in Europe and in the UK. So it's extremely busy. September is also becoming really more popular now as a time to visit. October, there's again school holidays the last week, and obviously the Christmas period and over the New Year. Those are really expensive times. So prices will go up. There's more demand during those times of year. So really kind of, I suppose, from spring through to kind of, early fall, autumn, and then the Christmas period. So, it is expect to pay more. That's if you're traveling at those times, it's going to cost you more. So really, you can budget around, I guess, £75 for budget accommodation outside of the peak times. That's what I would say. It's kind of a ballpark figure. £150 plus really per night for a 3-star hotel in Zone 1. That would be mid-range accommodation. And obviously for luxury accommodation, the sky's the limit. You can pay a lot. Yes, there's some beautiful hotels in London, very expensive hotels in London. So really, again, it's when you are putting together the budget for your trip, consider the accommodation in London so that you give yourself a reasonable amount of wriggle room, I guess. And then I guess the next thing is really consider which area of London best suits your needs. And I totally get this if you don't know London, if this is your first trip to London, how do you choose an area? So I will be talking about that in a bit. I think consider, where are you going to be arriving into and departing from in London? So you've got, obviously, there's 5 major airports surrounding London. So which airport will you be arriving in? Because obviously you want to get from the airport to your hotel. Are you going to be traveling onwards via train? So are you going to France? Are you going to catch the Eurostar over to Paris? Or are you going to go to Amsterdam? Are you going to be traveling up to Scotland? Are you going to go to York and Edinburgh? Are you going to go, what other, trips are you planning to take from London? Or are you just going to be based in London and want to take day trips out? So consider that you want to be near a transport hub. I would always, always recommend that you stay near a tube station. Really, really within walking distance, 5 minutes of a tube station. Because as I say again, once you've been traipsing around London all day, you do not want to spend half an hour walking back to your accommodation. I mean, you might want to. I know I don't. After a long day walking. So, get yourself near a tube station. It will get you, quicker around the city. Yeah, obviously things like, you're looking for a family-friendly area, or do you want something with a bit more lively nightlife? Or do you want to be near certain attractions or sporting events, or within walking distance of theatres? So again, it's kind of which area is going to be best for you, what will suit your needs. So once you've decided on the area, and as I say, I will talk about each of the different areas that we kind of recommend and who the best suit and some of the attractions in each of those areas in a bit. But once you've decided which area you like, then start looking at the accommodation options. So again, consider how close it is to the tube for transport links. You don't want to be having to get a tube and then onto a mainland train and then onto a bus and then have to walk. And I've seen this, honestly, I have. It adds to costs anyway, because it takes away time from your trip, and it adds to costs because you've got to get the transport there and back. Again, I will just recommend that if something like air conditioning is important to you, a lift, elevator is important, make sure that you do check that those are available. Also, I guess another thing to consider is, what time can you drop your luggage off? Because if you're arriving at Heathrow at 6:30 a.m. in the morning and you can't drop your luggage off until 3 in the afternoon, you need to consider what are you going to do with your luggage. Obviously, a hotel, you can 99.9% of the time, you can just drop it off with them. But it is worth considering. So, so think about, what is it that you want from a hotel? And obviously, we use booking.com and we have done for years to book our accommodation. And obviously, you can check those things off. So that's the accommodation options which meet your criteria come up when you do a search. So obviously, the next thing to do is book it. Once you've chosen, there's a wide range of accommodation options in London. You've got hotels, you've got apartments, there's guest houses, that you could look at. Obviously, booking.com, there's VRBO, there's Plum Guide, there's lots of different accommodation providers that you can go through to find the relevant accommodation for you. I tend to book with free cancellation. I use booking.com for that. I like free cancellation because you just never know what might happen, and you pay and that's it. You've paid your money and no cancellation and something happens. So, if it's your first time visit to London and you're unfamiliar or unsure of the location of the various areas, I do have an actual map that goes with the guide on the website. So I would suggest you have a look at that just to familiarise yourself anyway with the different areas. But so the next part of the podcast, I'm actually going to go through our favourite areas that we stay in. I've got kind of 3 areas that we generally choose when we go to stay in London. So I'll talk about those 3. I'm not actually going to recommend various accommodations on hotels in this podcast because honestly, I don't know what your budget is. I don't know what your travel style is. You might be traveling solo, you might be traveling as a family of 10. I don't know. I do have articles for those. But I think the best thing to do, as I say, is to take a listen and see which area kind of resonates with you, and then pop over to the website and have a look through, maybe give yourself a couple of ideas, and then choose one of those areas that you go, right, okay, that's where we're going to stay. That's the one that appeals to us. Okay, so the first area that I'm going to talk about, basically around Covent Garden. So looking at Covent Garden, Charing Cross and Trafalgar Square area. So now this area, really, if it's your first time in London, this is a perfect area to stay in. It's great if you've got older children, you're a theatre lover, you love shops. It's one of my favourite areas in London. It's one I always recommend people visit anyway. Definitely go to have a look around Covent Garden if you're not staying in that area. But that Covent Garden, it really is an area that's got everything. It's, there's beautiful market there. You've got theatres, restaurants, shopping, and much more. So, it's a really lovely, pleasant neighbourhood feel. Yes, it is a popular area. I'm not going to deny that it is, but it's just lovely. And Christmas is amazing at Covent Garden. And in fact, any time of year is lovely at Covent Garden. So there's a tube station there that will connect you to locations all over the capital. I will just say about Covent Garden tube station is that if it's got a lift or a lot of steps, but you can walk to Leicester Square station, which isn't very far away either, or Holborn, which we use quite often. But, really, you're close to Leicester Square, Embankment, Trafalgar Square. They're very easy to get to from Covent Garden. You've got the Royal Opera House, London Transport Museum. So lots of things on your doorstep. So it really is a lovely area. I guess the cons of staying in Covent Garden is that it is busy. It is a busy area to stay in. And accommodation can be more costly in the Covent Garden area because you've got hotels like Savoy, Waldorf, Hilton in that area. But, gorgeous place to stay. So I highly recommend that. So if it's your first time to London and you want to kind of be, you're into the theatre, you like shops, like restaurants, you want to be in a great place that's walking distance, a lot of attractions, then, look at that Covent Garden area. I stayed in the Covent Garden Holborn last year and this year, actually. I stayed in that area and found it really easy to get around London. And I just love the restaurants around that area as well. So Covent Garden, Charing Cross, that kind of area would be my first recommendation. The second area that I recommend is South Bank, Bankside, around there. So you've got Waterloo Station. It's a lovely area to stay in. I actually stayed in South Bank in April this year, very close to the London Eye. It's a great area. For like art and culture, foodies. It's a great place to stay in London at Christmas because you've got markets near there. So, it's a lovely, lovely place to stay. You've got Shakespeare's Globe, and obviously I've mentioned a few times there the London Eye, which I always go on when I'm in London. I absolutely love the views from the London Eye over Westminster, Big Ben. So it's, really good. You're near to Waterloo Station. So again, really easy to get around London. It's more affordable. You are slightly a little bit more removed from the city centre, but to be honest, it's really easy to get around. You can walk over Westminster Bridge, you've got Big Ben, Houses of Parliament there. As I say, walk down South Bank. That South Bank walk is lovely. Again, some really good hotels in that area. So that would probably be my second choice. And I know that's a popular area because we're often asked about staying there. So, yeah. Great views, as I say, you're going to get great views of Westminster, London Eye if you kind of stay in that South Bank area. So my third choice of area would be Tower Bridge and the City of London. Now, this area really is dominated by history. And yes, it is a main business district, but it's a great area if you love history and for sightseeing. We stayed just beside the Tower of London last year, fantastic hotel there. And great. So we had an early tour with walks, the opening ceremony of the Tower of London. So it was fantastic to just literally be on the doorstep of the tower. So got up and went straight to the tour. And of course, we had a tube station on our Tower Hill tube station, literally on the doorstep of the hotel. So we could get around London without any issues whatsoever, and very close to the river. So again, if we wanted to jump on an Uber boat, very easy. And, you've got the Tower of London next to you, you've got the Shard opposite. You can walk across Tower Bridge, go to Borough Market. So, it's a really nice place to stay. It is quiet at the weekend because obviously City of London, people aren't working at the weekends. So it will be quiet. It's not, as they say, it's not kind of like Covent Garden where you've got that real kind of neighbourhood feel. But it's an area that I would still definitely choose to stay at. So I think probably those are my 3 favourite areas. And I'm sure that, if you're listening and you've stayed in London, you may have your own favourite area that you've stayed in. But for us, I think kind of Covent Garden, South Bank and around the Tower of London are the 3 areas that we love to stay in. But obviously there are other areas. So let's have a chat about some of those. Another area to consider is that of South Kensington, Knightsbridge, Belgravia and Chelsea. So those are perfect areas really for families because you've got access to wonderful museums, great for culture lovers and shoppers. So, I mean, main things in that area, you've got the Natural History Museum, Science Museum, V&A, museums in South Kensington or South Ken, as it's known to locals. Obviously, you've got Kensington Palace as well, if you want to head there. You've got Hyde Park if you enjoy walks and you want to go have a walk around Hyde Park. Knightsbridge is obviously the home of one of the most famous department stores in the world, Harrods, which is worth a visit if you like shops. I mean, I go because I love the food halls in Harrods. So yeah, it's a good area to stay in. A little bit more tricky, I guess, for transport connections to some areas, but it depends where you stay. I mean, you have got the tube, so you've got tube links from South Kensington, Knightsbridge. So to be honest, pretty good area to stay. As I say, there are some pretty good and very expensive hotels in that area, but also you will find some more affordable accommodation too. A 4th area to consider is the Fitzrovia and Bloomsbury areas. They're brilliant, really great areas for stay if you're traveling with a family, because you've got a lot of spacious squares and leafy streets. It's really nice. It's just actually north of Covent Garden area, so it's within easy reach of central areas and the theatres and shops of the West End. It was seen as a literary and intellectual capital of the city. So you've got various university buildings and lots of tree-lined squares. So Fitzrovia is an interesting district. You've got family homes, apartment blocks, lots of cafes and pubs. And it's a good area to stay in London if you like exploring museums, because there's lots of different interesting museums in that area. And obviously, Bloomsbury, you've got the British Museum. So it's a historic and literary district within easy reach of central London areas. So it's quite a quiet, more sedate area to stay in. So perfect, I suppose, if you've got younger children or if you want to stay a little bit out of the action. But again, a lovely area to stay in. Now, if you love shopping, then probably the Mayfair, Marylebone and Oxford Street area would be a really good area to stay in for you. Very popular with celebrities, shoppers and lovers of fine dining. I'm sure most people have heard of Mayfair because it's the most exclusive district in the City of London, in London, and the most sought after area on the Monopoly board. So it's this part of the capital borders Hyde Park's eastern edge and is filled with very smart hotels, upmarket eateries, and elegant townhouses. So obviously this is a very popular place for celebrities to stay. But it is a little bit more pricey. It is the smartest part of London, so you're going to get luxury hotels and Michelin-starred restaurants all over the place. But if you on a budget, this is not the area to choose. You're going to get a limited budget accommodation, if any, in that area. But there are options if you wanted to stay in there. I know there are a couple of 1 or 2 B&Bs that we do list for that area. Next area that I want to talk about is Westminster and St. James, which is an excellent option for those of you who want to see all the sights, enjoy walking and relaxing in beautiful parks and have a little bit of luxury. It's actually a perfect location if you're taking a weekend break into London. So obviously, Victoria Rail and Coach stations, which this makes it ideal location, really, if you're going to arrive by public transport. You've got Big Ben, House of Parliament, Westminster Abbey, Buckingham Palace, Green Park. So lots and lots to see in that area. I know actually the area around Victoria comes up quite often because it's a little bit more budget friendly. Not a great area to museums, but again, you can just jump on the tube and go down to South Kensington to the museums. And obviously most hotels you're not close to the Thames. So if you want to be close to the river, that's probably not the best place to stay. Now, if you're into shopping and you want light nightlife, so if you want to go out and about at night, then Soho and Leicester Square is probably the best place to stay. You've got all the shops of central London: Carnaby Street, Bond Street, Oxford Street, Regent Street. Leicester Square is the cinema central of London. It's where all the big London film premieres take place. And also that area borders on the theatre land. So obviously if you want to see the theatre, fantastic. Shopping, amazing. Liberty, Hamleys, designer boutiques. You've got Chinatown, fantastic area is there for nightlife. You've got shops, cinemas, dining, theatres, lots of nightlife going on. You've got Chinatown's restaurant, so you've got some yummy, affordable food. Con for this area is that it's very, very busy, and again, not very many budget options in that area. So, but those are kind of the main areas that I would kind of suggest. On top of that, I will talk about, I'm just going to have a look at my notes, because there are quite a lot of areas. I mean, we cover 12 in our article, and I have, as I say, I've got articles about each of those. I guess one of the other areas that I'm going to mention, is around Camden and King's Cross. So King's Cross had a bad rep for a long time, and I know that people kind of go, "Oh no, it's not a great area of London to stay in." But actually, there's been a lot of regeneration in the King's Cross area. It's a good area if you're on a budget. You've got excellent links for the Eurostar, and if you're travelling up to Scotland from obviously King's Cross and from St Pancras International. Obviously, you've got Camden in that area as well, which is amazing. Camden Market, fantastic food options. It's a really eclectic area around Regent's Canal. You've got the shops, you've got the stores, you've got the Cold Drops Yard, which is fairly new, which has got shops and lots of different eateries. It's lovely. It's not an area though if you want 5-star luxury. I will say that if you really want to stay in the King's Cross area, you're not really going to find that kind of high end hotel. But saying that, there are some really good and not cheap hotels actually in the area. But yeah, so I would say it's a good area really if you're looking at transport links to outside of London. It's a great area to stay in, and it is a little bit more budget friendly. Certainly going up towards Camden. So you've got loads of different options there. I think I've probably gone through about 6 or 7 now. So those are probably our most favourite areas to stay in London. Obviously, you could go out a little bit further and go out towards Greenwich. Greenwich is another nice area to stay in London, a little bit further out. You could stay in Notting Hill area, which is, Notting Hill, fantastic. If you're in Instagram, I want to take loads of pictures of the beautiful homes because it is gorgeous. And obviously you've got the market. And obviously it's featured in many movies, so it's pretty famous. But obviously, you've got lots of different options. I think the best thing to do is after this podcast is to go and have a look at our articles. Choose which area. Which area did I talk about that you kind of went, oh, that sounds just perfect for me or for my family? Have a look. Have a look on the website. Look at the general article that I've got, and then choose the area, as I say, that goes, that sounds like that's for me. And then read our more detailed article on the area. To say we've got lots of different options for each area in terms of accommodation. We also have articles on the website, so we've got best hotels in London for families. We've got best hotels in London for larger groups as well. We've got budget London accommodation options, mid-range. I don't think I've put a luxury one together yet. Maybe I should. So have a look through those and use those to choose your best place to stay in London. If you still have any questions, pop over and join our Facebook group, UK Travel Planning, on Facebook. It's a private group. We do vet all applications for that group. So come over. It's a safe environment. Come and ask. If there's something you're thinking about, it's like, have a chat, or just look at actually what we've already talked about in the group, because there's lots and lots of posts about there and people are kind of going, oh, is this a good area? Is that a good area? And obviously I do point them towards the podcast and the website. Anyway, thanks for listening this week. It's been great to chat to you. And I want to say, as always, the show notes will be on the website, uktravelplanning.com/episode 68. That just leaves me to say until next week, happy UK travel planning.